for impact. Cross the line.
This is my destiny. It is the truth I see. In this world I fight a way to cross the line. Everybody's doing what everybody's doing. Everybody's doing the same thing. I'll be doing what I'll be doing. I'll be doing my thing. The world spins round to the right, they say. I'll be spinning the other way. Doing what I can, doing what I know. The world's my stage and I'm the show. It is my destiny. It is the truth I seek. In this world I find a way to cross the line. No possibilities for originality. Don't be left behind. Go ahead and cross the line.
Hey, now it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert. And the man himself is back, BQ by Elegance, Mr. Negative BQ himself, host of the Impact Lounge. And we're co-streaming. We're live on the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel and the Negative BQ YouTube channel. So everybody make sure you hit the like button, comment, and subscribe on both YouTube channels. Do us a big favor. BQ, we talked about doing this maybe once a month. We're not like we normally say that and then we're lying, but we're actually pretty close this time. It hasn't been that long since we've been together, man. So this is cool. Thanks for coming back.
All right, cool, man. Yeah, we definitely we'll make it happen. We talked about this. We joked about it last time that we're like, hey, we're gonna do it monthly, and it wasn't even bi-monthly. It was like I think we did like 3 in a year or something.
Yeah. Well, it was always really tough for me because like I was in California when you were in, I think you were in Illinois, right? Or were you in Missouri?
Illinois, yeah.
Illinois, yeah, just on the other side of the Illinois side of St. Louis, right?
Yeah.
And so that was tough because I was recording at 10 p.m. on the West Coast, and then I moved to Hawaii, and like our time difference was big, but then you moved to Vegas, so we're a little bit closer. So, but like I was having to record like during dinner time with my family, so I could barely. It was hard for me to get away. But now I'm like,
what I'm doing now.
So now I'm on the East Coast, and so I'm back recording at 10 p.m. on the East Coast. We're tonight 10:30, but I just have to sacrifice some sleep to be able to do some of the stuff. So, but it is all worth it, man. I'm glad we're doing this again. Let's try to keep it up. And if the people like Mike and BQ together, let us know, man. Like I said, give us the thumbs up and make sure you're subscribers to both channels. I wanted to kick the show off. We did get some news breaking before TNA went off, before TNA hit the airwaves tonight. And chat, I will get to you. Super chats will get priority, but I will try to get to everybody's chat no matter what. You do not have to pay me for my love, although I will love you more if you do pay. But I will try to. We will try to get to all of the chats as best we can. So make sure you drop a question in the chat. But one of your old favorites, and I know I was a fan of his too during his original TNA run. EC3, former TNA champion, former NWA champion. I can't remember if he held the NXT title. I know that he was there in NXT for a little bit, but I know he was there. But he is now a free agent. He's leaving the NWA. What are your thoughts on EC3's run in NWA, and do you think that maybe he should make a return back home to TNA?
Man, I say this as like his biggest fan when he was in TNA. Like my son even still to this day like really likes him, even though he has not seen him wrestle in years. Like he was actually what drew me like back to watching the show to begin with, because I heard Jim Ross talking about him. It's like, yo, this Ethan Carter, the third guy, he's just a great wrestling heel, and he's doing this and this. So like I tuned in for him, and I was just like immediately hooked, and I was just like the biggest fan, dude. You know that I'm in and out watching NWA.
Yeah.
And I say this as like the biggest fan in the world, dude. He is so washed, man.
Yeah.
He was the champion for a while, but you know, I don't know, man. He cuts these promos that like I don't understand where he's going with them. It's just like a lot of big words, and I don't understand the direction. And then he is, I would say, I think he was the champion, and he's been in there like 2-3 years. want to say like 3 years, kind of like different gimmicks, just throwing stuff at the wall, just to try. It was almost like when were you watching when Sandow, Aaron Rex came to Pop TV for a little bit when they're on Pop TV?
Yeah. Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
like at first it was cool, and then all of a sudden it was not cool, and then they just start throwing shit at the wall to see if, you know, trying to switch the gimmick, trying to make it work, and it just never did, and then he was gone. Like
Yeah.
EC3 is kind of similar to NWA, man. Like he just
Wow.
wasn't. I'm not saying he wasn't over and he wasn't clicking, but it's not the old EC3. And I think where there was a big issue is when he went to WWE and he was still EC3. Like, well, who is EC3? What's the story of EC3? Like EC3 to TNA is Ethan Carter to the third,
Right.
nephew of Dixie Carter. Like,
Yeah.
goes to WWE. Well, what is EC3? You know, it's nothing. And then he really lost his way from there, man. And I thought when he showed up at Slammiversary for doing the
The
I was gonna
control
say
your
call
narrative.
shot, control your
Yeah.
narrative. Um, I got one of those shirts that he gave me. I haven't seen. Completely forgot I had that. That was fun. Like that was actually working when he showed up. He had the goatee and all that stuff. But I don't know, man. He's just like he's lost a lot of muscle mass, and he's in NWA. It was very similar. Like who's EC3? Like I don't know, man. I would
I I
welcome him back as a fan, but it's not. He's
yeah.
not like at the top of the card.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now will they bring him back? It would not surprise me if they bring him back because they're getting ready to move to, basic cable for the first time in a long time. And he is at least a name. He's not a big name. He's not a big difference maker, but I think that they're not really interested in signing really good wrestlers. They want television stars. And
Yeah.
at one point in time, EC3 was a television star for them. And he does have, WWE cred. I'm like you. I watched a little bit of his stuff in NWA and I was like, this guy is cooked, man. Like, I don't know what the hell happened to him. I don't know if like it was just too many roids, too many injuries or what, or he just lost complete confidence in himself, but the guy's got nothing. I even watched some of his stuff in Ring of Honor and I was like, he did not fit in there. And,
No.
but if you think about it, who was the guy that brought Ethan Page to Ring of Honor and signed him there and actually pushed him? It was Delirious, and Delirious is now running TNA as like effectively like all the creative, like that's who's doing it. So I do think that it's a strong possibility that he comes back. And maybe can he recapture some of that 2014, 2015 like glory of his heyday? I don't know. There was a time where he was the only good thing on that show. So
Right.
he really stood out. And I thought that his feud with Spud was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then I even thought that he had a really good babyface run. I thought that it was pretty good. And then after that, just something happened with him and he ended up going to the WWE and he just lost everything. So I don't know. If Mike were in charge, would I bring him back? No. I think they should develop new talent, get new stars, and try to work from the ground up instead of rehashing a lot of this old stuff and old former WWE stars and former TNA stars, unless they got something to offer. And I just don't know that this guy has anything to offer this company right now.
Yeah, and I can tell you where it fell off the rails with him in TNA was like, and I've explained this before, a lot of your top guys, you always have to circle back around to them. So like right now they're circling back around to Nick Nemeth, right? Like he was a champion for a while, they got off it, but they're circling back around. They never circled back around at EC3 is what the problem is. They almost did. He headlined Bound for Glory against Bobby Lashley, and really it was time for him to win the title at that point. The match even started where Lashley speared him out of the ring during the ring and the introductions. So I mean that was like the biggest heel, to while who was the name? Borash was introducing him, Lashley just speared him out of the ring.
Yeah.
Big heel move to make. You would think the match would be laid out to where the babyface like gets his comeuppance at the end, and he didn't. Like Lashley won, and it was like that was his time. That's when they were supposed to circle around to him. They did, but they passed him up, and then all of a sudden he fell into this like we don't know what's next for him, and they had like zero clue how to book him. Try to throw the grand championship on, and like it just. After he lost to Lashley, like they kind of started going with Eddie Edwards as the top guy, and it completely fell off. They had no clue what to
Right.
do with him
And
at
Eddie
that
Edwards
point.
at the time was a really good wrestler, but he had no charisma. Like he didn't get that until he was like 35, you know? Like
Yeah,
it took getting hit in the face with a fucking baseball bat before Eddie started showing any personality. But
yeah, yeah,
um so EC3 I've always said was MJF before MJF. MJF's a way better wrestler and a better promo, but I always felt like MJF was like stealing EC3's gimmick and actually like made it better. So it would not shock me to see if TNA were to try to like, hey, he was MJF before MJF. Maybe we can try to figure something out with him. Maybe we can book him to get something like that out of him, because the control your narrative stuff was dog shit. Like it started off like interesting, and then it was just him rambling about a bunch of goddamn nonsense. And he showed up at Slammiversary, what, 2020? It was pandemic Slammiversary, right? And then he had this like cinematic feud with Moose that just totally laid an egg. And they ended up doing a cinematic match at Bound for Glory. And it was one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever seen in my life. And he's just never been back, which I
yeah,
think for good reason. So
yeah.
I don't know. I am interested. So you're an NWA guy. You watch a lot of NWA. What do you think about Colby Carino, Steve Carino's son? He is also a free agent. Is that somebody that should be on TNA's radar?
Yeah, he's pretty good, man. He's definitely like his limit is the X division. Like he's not
Yeah.
wrestling in your main event scene. He's a pretty skinny dude, but as far as X division with some X division style wrestler with some personality, like absolutely. They have what's called, I think, the junior heavyweight division. That's what they call it in NWA, and it was him and Kerry Morton and everybody else, like really for a long time.
Yeah.
The real money match was always when they wrestled each other. They would bring in some other dudes. Joe Alonzo actually is one that was pretty good, but like for the most part, they didn't really. That wasn't their style of wrestling. That's not what they do in NWA. So he really stood out from a in ring standpoint. But he has the chops and like the personality and the charisma to come over and do something. Like I think absolutely
Yeah.
that's a no brainer.
Yeah, again, not a difference maker, but I do think that he'd be a good guy for them to have on their roster for sure. Good wrestler, good talk. His dad was great. I don't know if you ever got a chance to watch his dad wrestle in his prime, but
I did. I'm familiar with him, but I didn't.
yeah.
No, I didn't.
So he was the ECW champion, and he was doing an anti-hardcore gimmick, and it fucking ruled, man. It was so awesome. And then all of a sudden, he's the hardcore wrestler, and he had a really great run of matches with Dusty Rhodes in ECW, and they were just bloodbaths, and it was just good stuff. And he was in TNA for a little bit too, but he was pretty much washed by that point whenever he got to TNA. But also was NWA champion for a long time too. So Steve Carino ruled back in the day, and now I think he's a coach in NXT now. But he was he was awesome for a long time. And lastly, on the news, there wasn't a ton of news since I've last talked, and I think since you've last talked. So we'll get to the chat in a second. But this broke at the end of Impact tonight, and I'll get to that in the review about how it happened. But they have moved the main event of Genesis, which was Mike Santana versus Frankie Kazarian for the TNA World Championship. They moved that match to the debut episode of TNA Impact on AMC. So that will now be the main event of the episode. This had been out there for a while. It was part of the spoilers because Mike Santana did it in front of the crowd. So this was a planned thing. But what are your thoughts on them moving the match? And should ticket buyers for Genesis be pissed? I don't see why they would, but should they be pissed? I don't know that. I think people are saying that, but I this is the better place for it, right?
Yeah, that's actually news to me because I don't read spoilers at all. So I when I watch the show, I pretty much watch it and I learn everything in real time. So I had no idea. Yeah, it's a better place for it, dude. Like this is not someone the company's taking serious as a world champion. Like, I mean, he's main eventing Dango. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. He got pinned his first time, right? His first wasn't a title match, but at the tag team match.
Tag match.
Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a placeholder, so he's not selling any extra tickets, regardless if it's a pay-per-view, the show.
So what do you make of the decision to put the belt on him at all? We haven't talked since that happened.
So what I said, and I briefly said this to you in a text, but I don't think you agreed with me. Um, I think the plan was for Nemeth to win the Call Your Shot Gauntlet because, again, like I said, it was time to circle around back to him. I don't think they could get the dates on him because he hasn't really been on the show ever since. I think he's done like an appearance or so, but I don't think they were able to get the dates on him. But they knew storyline wise he needs to be the winner. So, I think that they went with the co-winner thing. They wanted to get Frankie's title run out of the way very quickly, just someone to be a placeholder. Scott D'Amore probably promised him the belt once upon a time,
Mm-hmm.
and
Bingo.
and I just think he's just dropping it. Like I just think they were like, hey, we need you to hold the belt through the lame duck era, and then once the real, once Genesis rolls around, then we'll get the main event that we really want, which is Nemeth and Mike Santana. So
Yeah.
that's what I think it is.
Yeah, I fully expect that Santana is going to beat Frankie, and that Nemeth is going to call his shot on Mike Santana after that match, but he'll make the challenge for Genesis. Like he'll get thwarted or something like that, and then like Santino or something like that. Like they'll make the announcement by the end of Thursday Night Impact that the main event of Genesis is Nick Nemeth and Mike Santana, because that is a bigger match than Mike Santana and Frankie Kazarian. Because what Kazarian did by robbing Santana of the title didn't generate any type of heat or any type of interest in that match. Everybody just got annoyed. Like it didn't drive business. So in a sense, it failed. Their shock title change ultimately failed because it didn't generate any business or any interest. And so now the business is with Mike Santana and Nick Nemeth, just because Nick Nemeth is a much bigger star than Frankie. I don't know that Nemeth is a much better wrestler than Frankie. I think Frankie's great. But as far as star power and as far as the way that this audience sees him, Frankie's been doing a lot of mid-card, undercard comedy type stuff. He was feuding with Joe Hendry, where he actually beat Hendry all the time. But he's doing like a lot of his main events the last couple of years have been him on the announce team. So this is very much a gold watch title win for him. Then I'm pretty sure that Scott D'Amore, and I think he's even said it as much on his in his column for Yahoo that he does, that he wanted Frankie to be the champion. That's how he was able to get him into the company. So
yeah, and I mean, the reason I say I think he was just a placeholder is because when they had the two champions, I remember when I reviewed Bound for Glory, I'm like, well, at least we're getting a storyline out of Bound for Glory.
yeah,
There was no story. Like I was thinking they were gonna screwing each other over trying to cash in, or I actually predicted they were gonna cash in on the Hardys like as a surprise, like they actually team up together, and because I didn't know how else they were getting the belts off the Hardys. But the fact that there was just like no story whatsoever, and it was just extremely rushed putting the title. That's why I was like, dude, they just need him to be champion. Like I think the plan was for Nemeth to do it, but they couldn't get the date, so they're like, well, Frankie can do it.
yeah. Yeah, no, I could definitely see that, because Nemeth only has been on, I think, 1 or 2 episodes since Bound for Glory, and
Yeah.
he actually was in El Paso doing all the media leading up to the El Paso tapings, and he only showed up on the last night and didn't wrestle. So, yeah, he shows up. I'm not going to spoil it. He shows up next week, but he's on the show. I won't say how or why or what he's doing, but he's definitely on the show for next week. All right, let's get to some chats. Let's see. Okay. So a lot of people like EC3. So Impact 80, I would like to see EC3 to return to TNA for a few matches. Impact 88 says, which free agent should TNA sign? I've done several videos on who I think they should sign, but off the top of my head, I think Jericho's out of the question. He's returning to the WWE. Jericho would be the only guy that would actually make the company money, I think. But if you're asking me, 2 guys, I'm a Bad Dude Tito fan, and I like Braun Strowman. I like big burly motherfuckers. BQ, you got anybody you'd want them to sign?
Yeah, I mean, I did this on my mailbag. I did like 3 guys, 3 girls. But the name I said earlier that came from NWA, Joe Alonzo.
Okay.
I think he's again smaller dude, but would be welcome in the X division because again he's got the chops and the personality and all that. And I mean that's the one. If I'm just kind of like being realistic of everyone out there, we've talked
Yeah.
about the Nikki Blackheart chick. She's still kind of green, but at the same time, they tried to create the next Jordan Grace with Masha. It didn't work. Like, it's your next Jordan Grace if she can wrestle, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah,
What are your thoughts on the Masha situation? Where do you see them ever bringing Masha back?
okay. So I asked this question. I can give you a pretty good idea of what the company's thinking, but as far as my personal opinion, I was always like, she's going to come back. They gave Tessa another chance. They gave Rich Swan another chance. Like they're kind of that can be one of their niches is to be the second chance company for people.
Yeah.
I've used the example for like for basketball, my Clippers and then the Brooklyn Nets because there's secondary markets, or secondary team in their market. Part of their um, part of their God, I'm trying to think what's the word I'm thinking of?
Part of their appeal.
Yeah, it's kind of like being a second chance team for players that might have been outcast elsewhere.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I think TNA can be that kind of company, and I would have thought they were going to do it because I'm someone who's been in a toxic relationship before, and if you have not been in on one or been in one, you don't understand. Like they were sharing the text back and forth, you know, or the guy was sharing them on social media, the way she was talking, the way she was acting. Like, dude, when you're like in a toxic relationship, dude, you have no respect for one another. Like
Right.
your arguments get so intense that you say anything you can to hurt that person, and then you end up feeling bad later. But in the moment, that's just how it is. And like if you've never been in one of those, like you don't understand um, how it is when one person is fire and the other's gasoline. You know,
Yeah.
and
And
but I,
they're two young people. They're obviously both like going through some stuff, and there's been some drug accusations out there. So, it's one of those things like you hope that Masha can kind of like turn it around. So I could see if she does, right? And like, turns her life around a little bit and works hard, maybe they would bring her back for sure.
and when we get offline here, I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about it because
Okay.
um, Mike, there's certain things Mike and I will talk about, but I just can't say on streams and all that.
Yeah.
But I will just, what is the safest way I can put it? I don't think they're bringing her back.
Okay.
Like there is more to the story. Like they, like with Rich Swan, there was more to the story, but Rich Swan did everything he needed to do
Hmm.
to be in the good graces of TNA, where I don't think she did. I don't think
Okay.
she did her part. Where I think they were like, okay, this happened. Let's talk. Let's come to some kind of conclusion together. And that didn't really happen. So they like cut ties. It wasn't just like the accusations, like, oh, she did this and this. We need to save face, like they did during the Me Too movement. We're just gonna cut everyone. Like it wasn't like that. There was more behind the scenes. So I,
Okay.
I think they did want to try to keep her. It just didn't work out. I don't think they're bringing her back though.
Okay. No, that sounds pretty damn definitive. I believe you. I believe you there because, like, I think they would want to if like she did what she needed to do to get back. And Rich Swan like went to rehab and got himself back in shape and went out there and worked all the indies and looks great. And now he's a guy that's like he's back home. And I think this is it's good for Rich, right? He looks great. I follow him on Instagram and he's living the right way. And so maybe if one day Masha could get to that point, but it didn't look like she's interested right now. So hopefully she does. So, because I hate to see a young person get thrown away like that.
Same.
That's just how I am. I know I sound very much like a 42-year-old dad, right? But that's what I am, and I have a daughter. So like I just feel bad when I see somebody like that's going through some stuff just get kind of tossed aside. And I know she beat the shit out of the guy. It was very mean to him. But still, I just feel like people can turn it around. So at least I'm hopeful. But we'll
Right.
we'll see. We'll keep an eye on Masha, but it doesn't look like she's coming back to TNA anytime soon. All right. Let's see. Alter, fingers crossed, Pyro on AMC. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think that costs too much money. I don't see that happening at all. Let's see. Impact says Kazarian and Bear was great. Yep. Okay, here's a question. Do you think TNA will ever be stable enough that we as fans don't have to worry about massive losses in talent, because it has felt that way since 2014. Brother, that is not changing. The TNA is the smaller of the two of the big promotions in America, and they're stuck behind AEW and WWE, who are going through a promotional war. And a big part of promotional war is securing up as many talents as they possibly can to keep them from each other. And TNA is always going to be a victim of that. So they got to get creative in the talent that they sign. So, which is why they could be a place for second chances. And television type characters, and probably not the greatest workers, but that's where they're going to be. What do you think, BQ?
Yeah, man. Like I tell you, my wife, since we moved to Las Vegas, she has loved the company she works for. She's a nurse, loves the company. Came across a new company, $4 pay raise, out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the fans want the wrestlers to be content with less money.
Yeah.
And that's just not realistic.
No.
It's the nature of the beast. Like, now there's some people who are going to read between the lines and say, okay, I can take more money, but what are they going to do with me over there? As long as you compensate me fairly. Josh Alexander, if they would have compensated him fairly, he would have not gone anywhere. And you know that too.
Yeah. So, I know for a fact that he did not want to leave TNA, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean like, hey, make me. They're not necessarily saying, hey, make me rich or elsewhere, or else. They're saying compensate me fairly, and then I can stay. But if they're not, nine times out of nine, people are going to chase a dollar. Like, that's just kind of how it works. That's how we all are.
Yeah, dude. I retired from the Air Force. One of the main reasons why I did is because I got a better money offer in the civilian world. Like, I had money sitting there waiting for me, and I was like, I'm losing money by staying active duty, so I need to go get this bag, right? And now the company I work for, a great company, they pay me very well, they treat me well. But there's other companies, and this, like, I work in banking. There's other companies that are out there that are competing with my company, and they're wanting to take the talent. And I know a guy that just went and got a $10,000 annual raise from another company that's competing. And when I hit my 1 year mark and I no longer have to pay back my signing bonus, I'm pretty sure those companies are going to come knocking down my door, because I have a pretty good performance review. And I'm going to have to strongly think about it, because my loyalty is not to $1 billion company. My loyalty is to my family. So right. And the pro wrestlers are the same way. Like, they have to take care of their families. They have to take care of themselves. They can't. Now, I'll be honest. If my company comes back and says, "Here, we can sweeten the pot a little bit, but we can meet you halfway," and I'm like, "Well, I'm comfortable here. I got a good work schedule. I like my boss. I will probably stay." Right. So it would take a ridiculous offer for me to leave. So, it's just something to think about. And adults typically understand that stuff. It's children that don't really get it. Right. Like, I remember when I was a kid and Deion Sanders left the 49ers for the Dallas Cowboys. I hated that motherfucker forever. I was like, how could you sell us out like that? He was on the team for 1 year, by the way, and he sold out the Falcons to join us. But like, he went to the Cowboys, so I hated him forever. And then I was just like, well, in hindsight, I'd done the same thing, right? Because they offered him so much money that he couldn't pass it up, right? He had to go. So it just, look, sorry, if you're a child and you don't understand that, I apologize, but that's just the way the business goes. All right. Impact 88, you are getting a lot of stuff in. Would like to see Danny Luna win. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Let's see. Here's a question that we need to get to. What is Kylan King's status with TNA wrestling? So she doesn't have a leg, but you think she's coming back anytime soon?
Okay, so I asked this question this morning, okay, because I forgot when I was doing my mailbag. So they made it clear they really like her there.
Yeah.
So she's not just someone they want to cast off to the side or whatever. Like, they're a big fan of hers. And I remember when she signed, they said, man, they treated me excellent. Like, when she first came on, they offered her a contract and she didn't sign it because she's waiting out for AEW. Because AEW looked like they were going to sign her. They were putting her as the winner of squash matches on Dark.
Yeah.
And that's usually, hey, we're gonna sign you, we're gonna promote you. And they didn't. And then at that point, circled back around to TNA. And everybody knows that she got hurt. And then I was told she was very close to returning, and then she got hurt again. And it was just kind of phrased to me that there's a lot of health issues with her.
Yeah.
That it's just not. It's hard because when you're talking about health and stuff, you have to like be very careful in what you say about someone, especially if you don't like know the details. But it just seems like there's constant roadblocks with her, and they don't know if they're going to get there.
Yeah.
But I think they are waiting. I'm under the impression they're waiting it out for her to see if she's wants to come back, if she's able to come back. But it seems like I was basically told there's more roadblocks that's not public knowledge. Like there's just more things that are stacking up.
Yeah.
And that could be mental health. That could be other physical injuries. I don't know, but there's other roadblocks right now preventing her return to wrestling. That's basically what I was told.
I always was under the belief that if and when she ever returned, like they would, before she got hurt, it seemed like they were getting ready to push her. That was my read on how they were using her on TV. They had just gotten done with the Taylor Wilde stuff, and like it seemed like they were getting ready to get behind her a little bit, and then she got hurt, and it was a devastating injury. It was awful, and she just hasn't been able to make her way back. But I think should she make her way back, I think that she would have a good spot in TNA. They could use the help. Now the problem is if she gets back, is she the same as she was before she left? Because that injury is pretty tough, right? You see with pro athletes all the time, like, when you blow your knee out, are you ever the same again? Sometimes people can get back all the way. Other people just can't. So it affects everybody differently. Okay. I'm going to skip a bunch. King of the North says, Mike, can you review NXT Japan New Year's show? No, I cannot, but I did watch Naito and he is cooked. I was excited for Naito to debut in Noah. And then I watched the match. I was like, never mind. Let's see. This is a good question. Has anybody decimated any delicious cheeseburgers today? I had a banging cheeseburger today. Burgers. I did not, but I had a keto quesadilla for dinner. That's what I had.
I was actually going to make hamburgers for dinner for my family, but I ended up switching at the last minute. So here's the thing. I hate cheese more than any food on this planet.
Nice.
Like you will never see me eat a cheeseburger.
I hated it when I was a kid, but then I started eating pizza, and I was just like, okay, well that's cheese. So now I put it on my
mozzarella.
Burgers. Yeah. EC3 should come back to TNA and do his control your narrative thing. Get real QAnon with it. Yeah. Now TNA is the place where you can get away with stuff like that. I think that if he ever did come back, he has to go back to the old 2014 gimmick. Just do the same thing. Like act like it never changed. Just go back to do that. Forget that control your narrative thing ever happened. All right, let me get through some more of these. Okay. Hold on. This is bad radio. I'm sorry. Bad radio, bad podcasting. Okay.
That's me.
EC3 can bring Braun back with him. Yeah. That was a big rumor. Braun from Glory from years ago. Here's a question, BQ.
Well, I want to say about that. That would work if they came
EC3
together.
and Braun?
Yeah, I think that could work together.
Yeah, they were in the control your narrative thing together, like they're friends. So I think they could do something together. I don't know. I think that if you bring in Braun Strowman, you have to change his name because WWE owns the name. They're not friendly like that, where WWE is going to hand over IP.
Yeah.
But is he as valuable under a different name that he was as Braun Strowman? I don't know. Is his face that valuable? Is that's what you're trying to market as like this guy that used to be on WWE, but now we have to change his name? Like, can you still market that guy? I don't know, but I'd like to see it. I remain a Braun fan. I'm one of the very few out there that likes Braun Strowman. I don't think that every guy has to have a 5-star match. I think that you can have big, beefy motherfuckers just have 4-minute matches and it's still fun.
Yeah,
but all right. Okay, here's a question, BQ. Any news you guys heard about changes or surprise coming to creative or anything TNA related? So any changes coming to the creative team that you've heard of?
Dude, that's a tough question for me to ask because it's like it's me telling them, the show sucks,
Yeah.
So I very much avoid that question. The last time I asked her a question about creative was like it must have been 3 years ago when no, it was when they got rid of Scott. And I was like, well, how's creative going to work? And they're like, well, it's going to be by committee, but we're bringing someone in. That was the last conversation I have, and I don't know if that's Delirious or if it was supposed to be someone else. But
Yeah.
that's a tough question, man. I don't think that they think it's bad. That's the issue. I don't
Yeah.
think they think it needs a change. I guess is my point.
I'm with you. Like that Kazarian thing that everybody hated, they liked it. They did it because they thought it was a good idea, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I now we of course we got to give them grace, but I bet they were patting themselves on the back when they decided to put the title on Kalani Jordan.
Yeah.
You know,
And then
I think they thought they came up with a banger with that. You know,
right. And it's just and now it's an afterthought. People forget that she was ever the champion. You know.
she was almost knockout of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. What do you Michael Spikes always asking about the knockouts? It says, what should TNA do with Rosemary? It feels like she's just a jobber now. I think that's what they should still do with Rosemary. Is let her lose matches. What do you think, BQ?
Yeah, dude, they will never capture what they had with Decay, man. Someone posted, probably Yellowbone. He's always posting good stuff. He posted, you know, this was the best thing Billy Corgan did for TNA, and he posted like a clip of Decay, and I'm like, God, man, like that was magic. They will never have that again. They tried to do it again with Decay, and the problem is a lot of these wrestlers, especially the ones who are a little more creative minded, they end up doing comedy when it's all said and done. And like she was so dark, and then it got like goofy for a bit, and then she ended up in the tag team with Taya Valkyrie, where she like had switched back heel, and that worked for like 2 months.
Yeah.
And then Taya left, and then they tried to redo Decay, and that was a mess. And then they did what was the when she was Courtney Rush?
Yeah. Oh gosh, because they had Jessica Havoc doing I'm sick or something like that.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the name of the tag team.
And I didn't hate that. I'm not gonna lie. But it's gone so many different directions, and now she has the blonde hair, and that's not Rosemary. It's not a dark character, you know. It's just like they dusted her off for that knockouts match so she could introduce a chain into it, so they could turn it into a Danny Luna versus Eddie Hartwell dog collar match.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just man, they'll never recapture with Rosemary. But to say that she's a one-time knockouts champion is so wild. The way that I see it is that they take advantage of the wrestlers they know are there long term.
Mhm.
You know, that's why they'll be Eddie Edwards, who's Mr. TNA. Like he lost the most matches out of anyone in the company in 2024. I remember reading that data.
Yeah.
But at the top of the year, I mean, dude. So,
yeah. Dude, Eddie is that brother's eating good right now. That man is. You didn't get to see the show tonight, but that man is just loving life. You know, and God bless him for it. Like he's in his 40s now, and like he's got like a job that he doesn't believe he's ever going to get fired from,
right.
and he's got stable home life. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking eat carbs and candy. Yeah. He's like, I'm just gonna be happy.
He's gonna crush Alicia one of these days, man.
Yeah. Let's see. Madison Rain retired on Ring of Honor Club in a backstage promo tonight. Yeah, that did happen. Yep. So she's retired. I thought she was already retired, but she officially retired tonight.
Yeah, I caught that on Facebook actually. I didn't listen to it. I didn't really care that much. I'm not gonna lie. I thought she was so overrated as a wrestler. I liked her. I thought her and Tanil were a really good team.
I thought that the Killer Queen was a good gimmick. I thought I did when she was part of the Beautiful People, and like then she was like she had the crown, and she's I thought that was a good gimmick, but I never really thought that she was like a good wrestler or anything.
No,
although there was a time where she was on commentary with Josh Matthews, and I thought that I didn't like Josh Matthews, but I thought that she was like okay.
She was. So you might have missed her first go around. Like I feel like you weren't watching at that time, but they used to bring her on for the knockouts. Like she would do commentary for the knockouts, and she added nothing. She was so bad. And then when they circled back around, I was like, oh God. But yeah, I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was too big of a deal. Do you remember that she was married to an Air Force guy?
I thought she's only ever been married to Josh Matthews. Well, she was
no.
married to an Air Force guy?
I can't believe you didn't know this. So this was like 20. I don't know how long she was married for. I know the last time I can confirm was about 2012, but she was married to a dude, a security forces dude. And the reason I know is because I had a spouse back then. She passed away, but she was stationed at Shaw because we were like long distance. She was going to come to Scott, but she passed away.
Right.
But she had told me, she's like, "Hey, this guy on my flight that's she said married to a WWE diva." So that was her terminology. She didn't know any different back then. So I was like, "What's his name?" So I looked him up on social media, not on social media, but like on Reddit or something.
Mhm.
And they were like, "He's married to Madison Rain." And I was like, "Holy shit." But I did see the dude because he was like working the gate when I went there to visit one time. So she's like, "Oh yeah, that's the guy." But yeah,
You're blowing my mind. I had no idea that not only did she marry somebody, she married a lowly security forces guy working the gate.
yeah, dude. I mean, he had to have been at the time like a CD airman or something. You know
No
what I mean?
shit.
Like she was straight up military spouse for a bit though.
Was he like at least a Raven or something? Like, was he like a legit security forces guy, or was he just like
He
ID
was. He
card
was.
bro?
I remember him being in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't like a dork.
Okay. So he was at least yoked.
Yeah, yeah. To my knowledge, yeah.
Okay. All right, Chad. I'm gonna get a couple more, and then we're gonna carry on with the show. But you guys are lively tonight. Like I said, if you wanna like get all my attention, just super chat. TNA needs to bring back the World X Cup and King of the Mountain. I don't think they'll ever bring back World X Cup, but King of the Mountain's probably something that they'll do for sure. Joel Pearl, I think he leaves his show and comes over here to harass our show. But Joel Pearl says, bring back Braun and put his food show on AMC. Now that is the type of shit I'm talking about. Like that's perfect. Like Braun doesn't have to do a lot. He can crush a couple people and then like eat burgers on TV afterwards. Because his show on that came on USA Network, his food show, it was higher rated than Collision. Like it was like, I think it was like competing with Dynamite. It was like one of the top rated wrestling themed shows out
I
there.
heard it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy. I'm telling you, the guy's got a lot of charisma. He's a star. Look, I dig Braun Strowman. He's awesome, for sure. Okay, let's see. Joel says, and he's whispering this, so maybe I'm not supposed to say it out loud, but it's in the chat. So several talent actively know it's bad. So talking about the creative, yeah. So I can confirm that because I have been told by talent that it's bad, right? And so like if they're telling me they really want that information out there that they think that the creative needs to change, that doesn't mean that people need to be fired, but they have to update it. They have to modernize their ideas for what storytelling is. We have an elephant in the room when it comes to like one of the major storylines on their show right now is a complete beat for beat ripoff. And I'm sure Joel talked about it on his show of the Armageddon 2000 angle with Stephanie McMahon and Triple H. Like it's the same thing. You know, Santino Marella is in the Vince McMahon angle. And he's like all depressed right now. And tonight, Ariana Grace was literally a carbon copy of Stephanie McMahon from 25 years ago, like down to even like the same style shirt she was wearing, like the purple shirt. I always remember that vividly in my head from when I was a kid. Like they're doing the same thing.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely got to watch the show, man. I've never talked to a wrestler about creative at all. I think, dude, I mean, maybe the last time that's been a conversation was like when Marche Rocket was in the company, and because I would always ask him, "Hey, when are you booked this this set of tapings?" He's like, "Dude, they got nothing for me." But and they wouldn't even fly him out. He's like, "I always have flights, but then they cancel them because they got nothing for me." And I think Matt Cardona made it crack to me one time that they don't know what they're doing, but that's not really a conversation I have.
Yeah.
But I think I saw Body Slam have an article. They probably got it from Fightful, but I think I saw an article about it that exactly what he was saying there, that the talents.
Yeah. I think the same people that talked to Sean, like I know for probably one of them is probably one of the people that like kind of reached out to me on the side and was like, yeah, this is great, but creative's not great. So I don't have a ton of info about that, but I do know that people are frustrated in that company. Okay, John Whitner says, are there any tag teams for the men's division that you could see TNA trying to bring in this year? Um, you know, I keep holding out hope for that they would try something with Private Party because of the connection with the Hardy Boys. Like that makes sense because Matt was their manager for a while, so that makes sense. There's an independent tag team that I like, and probably I'm the only one that likes them, but it's called the Cowboy Way with Manders and Thomas Shire, and there's these two cowboys, and Manders works like he's Stan Hansen, but he's like 5'6", you know. So, but I like him, and then I think there's another tag team on the West Coast. I can't remember the tag team name, but it's Titus Alexander and Starboy Charlie, but they're very tiny, like kind of like Sinner and Saint. So I don't know if TNA would actually bring them in. Can you think of any tag teams, BQ?
Yeah, dude. I remember when I was living in Illinois, there was a tag team in St. Louis there, dude. The besties in the world that I was like, man, this team could be on TV, but they like the best friends kind of popped out in AEW around that time, and I was like, oh man, they're
they're done,
like knockoffs now, you know.
Yeah.
They kind of did like Joe Hendry with the wave your hands, but they had a very similar gimmick like with that. But tag teams, man, on the indies, dude, it is really slim pickings. That's why I was like, yo, EC3 and Braun Strowman could work actually. And that's why I even had the idea of Nemeth and Frankie beating the Hardys, because I was like, dude, who's out there, you know?
Right.
Honestly, the team I really, really, really want them to get is from AEW is Butcher and the Blade.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
they're like made for TNA, much like the Righteous.
Yeah. So because I like the Righteous in TNA. I think they're better suited for TNA than they ever were for AEW, and I would say even for Ring of Honor, because that's Ring of Honor and AEW similar in the sense that they don't, and I could be wrong about this, but at least I know their fan base, their hardcore fans don't like the gimmicks, right? They want everybody, like, their gimmick is that I'm a really good pro wrestler and I like to win matches, like that's kind of what their hardcore fans like. And that's okay. Look, there's a market for everybody, but the Righteous you got to go deeper with them. That's like a deep seated type of character. And they did a promo tonight on TV that I actually liked. And I like them here, but when I watched them on AEW, they weren't resonating because I like people that are different than everybody, but for whatever reason, it just didn't work in that company. I think the same thing about the Butcher and the Blade. When I think of the guy, Andy, who he's a bass player in a heavy metal band, the big guy, I look at him and I'm like, he could absolutely have been in WCW in like 1992, like, kicking ass at center stage. Like he just looks like a pro wrestler. And then Braxton Sutter obviously was prior TNA. So I would dig Butcher and the Blade. Okay. King says, I'm actually advocating for Tummy Dreamer losing his job. So here's the thing about Tummy. And I actually had a conversation with him tonight. It was not about TNA, but I reached out to him earlier and he responded. And we had a good back and forth. He is the head of talent relations. Everybody likes him. So we all advocate for his firing, but he's the one hiring these wrestlers. And he's the one like bringing them in and helping them get to WWE. Like he's the guy that's doing all of that. He's on the creative team, but he's not in charge of creative. So when we see something that bad happening on television, people know Tommy and they see his face more. So they want to blame him. But the wrestlers will tell you that it's not Tommy. Tommy is like their Jim Ross. He's the guy that's taking care of their contracts and bringing them in and signing them and doing all that. So they all love the guy.
Right. You can tell on social media, especially like the knockouts, doing little videos with him and all that.
Yeah. So everybody likes Tommy. This is Lucha Donjik. Hire the DPW boys. I agree. I do think that the Deadlock Pro guys, one of the reasons why they stopped booking wrestling is because they were retired. So, let's see. Elephant in the room. Oh, this is mean. An elephant in the room. And you were talking about Eddie Edwards earlier. Come on, that's rude. That is rude, Chad. That is rude. Okay. All right. So let's discuss TNA in 2025. What were some of your expectations for the company in 2025, and were you like overall, were you pleased with the direction the company was headed in 2025? And what was something good about it? What was something bad about it?
Um, I mean, I was pleased because I mean, you can't look at it and say um, it was a failure because they've got their biggest gates and their biggest crowds. I mean, you can't just from that standpoint, you cannot say it was a failure. You cannot
Yeah.
say it was a bad year. Like, I mean, were the shows blowing me away? Not really. I wasn't. There was very few episodes that I was like, man, this was fucking great. There was good episodes, but I wasn't like blown away by anything. Um, but that's mainly because I don't really care about the NXT stuff, and that kind of ruins the show for me a little bit. Um, Using a lot of Santino, that doesn't really do a whole lot for me right now. So,
Hmm.
you know, but I can't look at it and say it was like a failure. You can, especially with that getting a TV deal and stuff. Like you
No.
can't look at it like that.
No, I agree. I think creatively it was the shits for the most part for most of the year. They did have some good feuds. I thought that the rise of Mike Santana was very well done. I would have probably pulled the trigger at Slammiversary, but they waited until Bound for Glory, and that ended up being okay. But I didn't care for the Frankie Kazarian shock thing. It's ultimately been a failure. The Frankie Kazarian title run. But they have had the finally crowning Joe Hendry was big for them, and the Hardy Boys have been big for them. Obviously, the NXT partnership has been really big for them. They sold over 5,000 tickets twice this year, and they've reached upwards of 3,000 to 4,000 multiple times. So it's been the biggest year that they've had since they were on Spike TV. And I think 2026, as far as business wise, is going to be even bigger because now they're going to be on AMC, right? So those are all positives, but I just felt like creatively they were in a lull the entire year. They switched creative teams from Ariel to Delirious, and now Delirious is in charge. And he is very bland. It's very paint by numbers and a lot of starts and stops pushes. Like Jake, something has been pushed 7 times this year, and they drop it within a week. I still don't know when they're ever going to pick back up the Frankie Kazarian Jake something team that they were doing, or like where Jake was going to be a hired henchman, right? And he's gone back heel and face a couple of times. I know they're trying to do stuff with him. I don't think he's coming back to the company after. I think he's done pretty much. But like just like instances like that I thought they flopped with the Kalani Jordan title run. They flopped with a bunch of other stuff. So lots of room for improvement. I do think that if maybe we'll get into it in our outlook for 2026. But if they don't at least modernize and update their creative process, I think they're in for some trouble, because if they lose AMC, I don't think they're going back to Access, and I don't think the Anthem's going to keep them on for much longer if they don't continue to grow. So that is just my read on the situation. But
Yeah, they were going to do something with Frank and Jake, but all I know is like something happened backstage where they pulled the plug on it and just said, we're just pretending it didn't happen.
yeah,
So something happened. It wasn't like creatively they're like, hey, let's do something that's going to last an episode and move on. Like there was the problem is they just didn't pay it off. Like
yeah.
other companies would try to somewhat pay it off where they just didn't. They very easily could have Frankie cut a promo and be like, hey, I used you. You helped me get this title. Or no, actually, he wasn't involved with that. But I
No,
don't
it
know.
was
I mean,
it was Judas Macias.
that's right. That's
Another
right.
thing that they started and stopped, like they brought in Judas Macias for one taping. He interfered, and then like they never saw him again. It's like,
That was
it's like,
ridiculous. Seriously.
yeah, what the hell? But so what are some of your expectations for 2026 as far as like company growth and what they could do to make things better, improvements to the TV show? Like I know you're very much into the, like you like to talk about the production side of the house and things like that. Like where can you see them growing and getting better on all that?
Um, I mean, I think it's a lot of minor tweaks, to be honest. Like I think the foundation is there. I think the show does look a lot better. I haven't had any issues with it. I mean, it feels like I used to talk about it every single show. Well, I know I did. And even the TNA shows, the TNA Plus shows, excuse me. Remember, we used to always have some kind of production snafu. Like
Yeah.
it's been pretty smooth, So
Mhm.
um, just like what I've said many times on my show that I want to see happen is that they find a way. I mean, I feel that they're highly in debt. So I think any money coming in doesn't mean, oh, we're making everyone rich. I mean, I think they have a lot of debt to pay off. But I think also if they're able to restructure some of these contracts, like, hey, we're going to pay you more per appearance, but use you less or something, man, because there's last week there was over 50 people on the show. You know,
Mhm.
a lot of these, a lot of the TNA Plus shows, there was one, bro, like 3 or 4 months ago that every single match was a tag team match, and then they had someone in their corner too, or it was a multi-person match, and there was like 3 or 4 people outside the ring. Oh my god, man! It's really obvious that they're trying to utilize people. Like under Dixie Carter at the end, like I brought up Marche Rocket, like this dude's not getting paid because they're not even flying him in. He's under contract, but he's just sitting at home watching the show like us.
Mhm.
I appreciate that they're trying to pay everyone. They're trying to find some way to do it, but there's way too many people on the show, and everything has a run in. Everyone has someone in their corner. Everyone, it just, I don't know. Like when I started reviewing the show on Pop TV, it was very much like whoever was wrestling, and half the roster might have been off the show that week, and they'd be on the next week.
Yeah.
I understand why they're doing it, but that is for me, like the biggest improvement that I think will actually help creative by default, because now you don't have to write every single fucking person in the show. Yes, you want to have something for everyone to do, but to like shoehorn them into everything, it just doesn't it's just not natural,
Yeah.
like a lot of things they do. So that's just I want to see like a less is more approach. And I don't know. I mean, it's the easy answer to say like improve creative, but I think if you do things like that, I think by nature, creative will be a little bit better because it's less to digest when you're watching the show, and it's less for the creative team to have to monitor and track and everything. So I don't know,
Yeah.
that's been like my main thing, but I think the show looks and sounds pretty good. They're getting away from some of the cookie cutter things. Like I always point out, it's always match Gia Miller interview. Like they have this storyboard that they just fill in, and now she's like feels more natural and they use her throughout the show. So I don't know. I'm not expecting. No, I'll say I am expecting you and I to do our reviews when they do the show on the debut on AMC, and we both get on our shows and say the show's exactly the same.
Yeah.
I'm like 90% leaning that direction, and that's how we're gonna feel.
That whenever they started going live earlier this year, I was like, beforehand, I was like, okay, they're going live for the first time in forever. I think it's about time that they updated their format for the show, the way that they do the show, and the look and the feel of the show. Since they're going live, I was like, this is going to be a whole new impact. And then you get there, and it's the same as if it were taped. It
Right.
didn't fucking matter. It was the same, right? There was no new look. There's no nothing. I think they just changed the color of the ring ropes, and like, and now they have like they still have the yellow ropes, and they have like the piss yellow filter that's covering the thing. So if I had like one thing I wanted to change for 2026 is get rid of the yellow ropes and get rid of the piss yellow filter. I do think that the yellow filter is probably from Access. Like whenever the Access gets it, they're for whatever reason deciding to change the color on it. As I do think that like when you're looking at it on a different venue, it doesn't look like that, but when it's on Access, it looks really bad. So I'm hoping that on AMC it is actually going to look clearer, right? Because
Yeah.
if you put two TVs side by side and you have like AEW or WWE on this one and TNA on this one, it's like they're not even in the same business because of
Right.
that filtration that they put on it, right? It's so disgusting. So I think they got to update that. I'd like to see them get a different song. I love Cross the Line. It's my entrance now. I used more AI than would kill a small village in Bangladesh to make it. But I do love the song, but I think it's time for them to get a new song. I'd like to see them update the format. I don't think that we need Santino like trying to book the show while it's still on the air. It's something that they've been doing since the Scott D'Amore days. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think we need to go there anymore. So we just need fresh characters in a fresh format, and the production's got to get better, right? It's got to look better because I just don't think it looks very good. That's, obviously my opinion. The pay-per-views I think look fine, but the TV show does not look good.
Yeah, but I mean, there's definitely like, remember we talked about the shadows on covering Gia Miller's face from the wrestlers because they didn't know how to do lighting.
Yeah.
That's not an issue anymore. So
No.
they're
Well,
trying.
Well, and back in the Impact Wrestling days, they would be doing the backstage interviews, and like the microphone that they were holding wasn't even turned on. Like the sound was going into the camera. The camera was the one that's picking up the sound, right?
Yeah.
It's like it'd be like if I disconnected this microphone over here and talked into my computer. That's the way that it sounded back then, because the
Right.
microphones were fake, but they have real microphones now too. So like, look, we have seen some dark days with this company. It's been pretty bad. But I they do have to update some of their stuff. All right. Before we get into this week's TV show, no, BQ didn't watch the show, so I'm just going to recap it for everybody, and then we'll send this thing home. But you have any bold predictions like this? Just try to shoot for the stars. Any bold predictions for TNA wise, whether it be creatively, business wise, people coming into the company, a shoot for the stars, any bold predictions you have for 2026 in TNA? And just for instance, last year in my bold prediction, I got a few right. I said a former TNA legend, whether it might be AJ Styles, Kurt Angle, or somebody like that, is going to return to the company at some point. I said that they would sell over 5,000 tickets, and I said they would get a TV deal, and I was predicting that it'd be around $10 million per year. I got all those things right. So you could shoot for the stars and still might hit. I hit all mine last year. But what bold predictions you got for this year?
So I'm not totally prepared for that. I think we're going to see. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more AEW wrestlers show up.
Like former AEW wrestlers.
Former,
Yeah.
like like the Bear Bronsons, guys who just like didn't get a fair shake over there. I don't want them to bring in people who are on the show every week. That's the same thing as bringing people in from WWE. But I think there's going to be a lot of those Bear Bronson types of signings where it's like, hey, we didn't get used over there. Like, let's come here and get used, much like Frankie Kazarian did.
And the Righteous too.
Yeah, the Righteous. I think we're going to see also. I just my whole point is everyone's always asking for where's the new fresh indie talent, dude. I don't think we're going to see that. Like, we didn't see it this year at all. Not even a single time that I can think of.
Just a couple of knockouts. That's really been it.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, there's a lot of indie talent for the women, so I mean I can get that, but for the dudes, like, they didn't do that. So I think it's going to be a lot more. The free agent signings are going to be these AEW guys and guys released from WWE. I think they're going to continue to do that because the big prediction I have that is not a positive one is I think that this time next year we're going to review the show at the end of the year and be like, dude, they have completely gone away from what makes TNA. Like, I think the company is going to feel so different because what I said at the top of this year, actually, everything comes full circle. And years ago, TNA had this good thing going. All of a sudden, they became a little bit more of a challenger brand, more people watching. And then it was like, okay, now fuck our talent. Let's get all the, obviously Hulk Hogan's not available, but let's get all these recognizable names on the show, take over the show. There's just something in the back of my mind that said that is so possible that happens again. Something very, very similar. I hope not, but I mean, if I had to lean one direction, I think this show is gonna. And again, this is from a negative standpoint. I think it's gonna be so different next year, and I think there's a chance that a lot of the core fan base is gonna punch out.
Yeah, well, we're already seeing some of it, like, and I'll just reference Josh Alexander leaving last year. Why did he leave, and why did TNA not value him? Because he was never a television star on AEW or WWE. If he were to come back now, I think they would actually value him.
Yeah.
And that was the same trap that Dixie Carter got into, and it started before Hulk Hogan. It was, they were bringing in Mick Foley and Booker T and all those guys, these washed guys that were television stars for a long time. They're bringing them in and putting them over their talent that had been kind of carrying the company that we all loved. And they started to lose a lot of the hardcore fan base. And of course, they brought over Hulk Hogan. And like, numbers went up right from there, but then like it died out because who were they bringing? Like they brought over the Nasty Boys and like and they brought over RVD, and RVD was good, but it was just people like that. And now that with this TNA partnership, what are we seeing right now with this NXT? Like we had Trick Williams, and I thought Trick Williams did good for what he was brought in for, but they're being brought in and being put over the stars, and then they do lose matches here and there. But right now, here at the end of the year in December, we got some of the lowest bottom of the rung talent that NXT has to offer, and they're main event level stars in TNA, and then they're going back to NXT and they're losing matches like in 2 minutes. That's like that. Like I think that we'll see some of that. I would like to see some AEW stars, that are looking for an opportunity outside of AEW, because AEW just has so many people, right? They can't push everybody, and they signed way too many people. And there's just no space for them there. I'd like to see some folks like that make their way over to TNA, specifically Anna Jay. I know that she's going to want to probably go over to the WWE, but I'd like to see her have a stop in TNA. I think that would be good. I did like that. So my bold predictions for this year. So last year I said TV deal. I said, 5,000 tickets, and then we get a legend returning. So this year for 2026, my bold predictions are we're going 10,000. They're going to do 10,000 tickets, or at least I should say they will announce that they have sold 10,000 tickets to at least one show this year. Yeah. Now then Brandon Thurston will get the turnstile count, and it'll be bullshit, but they will have announced at some point this year that they have sold 10,000 tickets, whether it be Slammiversary, Bound for Glory, or something else. At some point, they're going to do 10,000 tickets. Okay. That is my first bold prediction. Second bold prediction. AJ Styles is retiring this year. He's going to have a match in TNA. I think they've already started to tease it a little bit, and he just beat Leon Slater. But I do think that AJ Styles, as part of his retirement tour, will do at least one match in TNA. I don't think it's like he came last year and he did his little Christian Cage spot at Slammiversary, but I do think it's a real possibility that he does that. And then lastly, so we got the AMC deal. I am not very confident that it's a big paying deal. I know I've referenced $10 million. No, it's not been reported anywhere. I don't have that information. In fact, I think it's a revenue share deal. I'm pretty confident in that. I do think that'll roll over and they'll get signed. Probably some more money will kick in later in the year. That's why a lot of people are waiting to re-sign with the company, and they're just doing these 3-month deals because they're waiting for more money to kick in. But I do think by the end of the year, they will have sold their PPV rights, the pay-per-view rights, to a streamer. I think that's the next incarnation of what they need to be doing. And that's really going to get them a lot more money than what they have right now. So those are my predictions. 10,000 tickets, AJ Styles, and selling their pay-per-view rights.
Do you think it's a fair assessment Santino is going to be a champion next year?
I think Santino's going to beat Stax for that international championship for sure. Yeah. And Macklin is wrestling Stax is coming up, and I have not read the spoilers, but I don't think he's winning that one.
No.
So, yeah. I don't know. Honestly, I saw the commercial tonight for next week, and I was like, I didn't know that match was happening. So it tells me that
means
it tells me that he did not win it. So
yeah.
Yeah. So I think Stax is going to defend the title like Genesis or something like that, and Santino is going to win the title for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then maybe that's what gets him off of the show as the director of Authority, and he's just like a wrestler. Ugh. Which I don't know if that's worse.
Yeah. Hope not.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. King of the North says, maybe it's just me and I've muted Gerard and IO, but it doesn't seem like there's a crazy big promotion of this AMC debut to friendly media. Does it seem like they're not doing enough? I see commercials on AMC all day, every day, and everybody seems to be promoting it. It's 2 weeks out. I think the week leading up to it, they're going to be all over every media site doing interviews and putting the wrestlers out there. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. I think that's fine. Mike wants to say they'll beat Dynamite in the ratings so bad. I don't think they'll ever beat Dynamite. I thought that if they were on CW, they would have had an opportunity on a bad night for Dynamite to have more than Dynamite, but they're on 9 p.m. on AMC, which is a lesser station than TNT or TBS. I don't think they're ever beating Dynamite. Collision, I think on a bad week for Collision, I think they could beat Collision. But
Yeah. Oh yeah.
but Dynamite, no. Okay. With the AMC connection, you see them running MSG or the MSG Theater. So BQ, this is one for you. You know, the Dolan family owns AMC, and they also own Madison Square Garden. They own the New York Knicks and the New York Rangers, I think. So, do you think that they could parlay a deal in getting TNA into one of the MSG buildings? Probably the theater, more likely.
I can't see that.
No, okay. Well, the theater is like a 3,000 seat venue, and
Yeah,
NXT runs that often. So,
Oh, if that's the case, then I would
yeah.
say that's possible.
King of the North says more money for what? I don't know what you're talking about there, buddy. Let's see. Gerard says UK media rights update. You got an update on the UK media rights?
Oh yeah. So yeah, I asked that question, and I don't have a good answer for anybody. I don't have good news. Just because nobody that I talk to, anyone I talk to deals with TNA here in the United States. There's no. So long story short, I have no connection to anyone who's has anything to do with negotiating rights overseas. So
Yeah.
no knowledge of it.
Yeah. Okay. Over under debut viewership on AMC. I am gonna go 215. 215 is my over under.
Yeah, I was going 225.
225. That's pretty solid. So King, you said that they'd get more money from AMC. I'm asking what they'd get more money for. Well, the television show, like I don't the TV show. Okay, King. I don't know if you can notice. King does not like TNA.
I've noticed. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Lastly, is there a time frame for new dates being announced? I don't think BQ knows the answer to that question, but no. But Albuquerque is the last date that they have announced, but I'm sure they'll announce dates soon. Okay. All right. We're gonna. Man, I got to run through this TV show really quick, BQ. So
Yeah.
I apologize. So you did not get a chance to watch the show. Am I gonna fuck this up for you by recapping?
No, I always listen to your review before I watch the show.
Okay. I don't want to like spoil anything for you.
No, we're good.
Okay. Let's see. Let me get over here. Okay. So the show kicked off with the Elegance brand, BQ's favorites. They got a victory over the Angel Warriors. Story here was all about the chaos on the outside. Danny Luna blindsided Lei Ying Lee to send a message regarding the Knockouts title match coming up at Genesis. Do you think Danny Luna takes that from Lei Ying Lee?
I don't. I think she should, but I don't. I'm not getting that like vibe that they're trying to push her the way we want to see her pushed.
Yeah.
But I also think that Zaya Brookside's going to turn on her.
Yeah. Okay. And then they could run back their match.
Yeah. So that could be a thing.
Okay.
She may cost her the belt.
Okay.
They don't do that much. Usually people don't cost someone the championship if they want the championship. But as I said, when you start using terminology like best friend and I respect you, I trust you, that's foreshadowing a turn.
Right. I gotcha. Yeah, so Elegance brand got the victory there. And at one point they did go back to the back and the Inspiration was watching along. So I think they're just going to run back Elegance brand versus Inspiration at some point. So we can't move past that match. They just got to keep wrestling each other. So we go backstage and Santino Marella, he's a total mess. He's depressed because his daughter kicked him in his ball sack the week before or 2 weeks before. He couldn't even speak to GM Miller. He just passed a note to the commentary team. And then later in the evening, so man, I fucked up with this thing. Okay, so this wasn't next, but this was later in the evening. The NXT Outlaws took the ring, and Ariana doing full-blown Stephen McMahon Helmsley impression, down to like the outfit she was wearing was very reminiscent of something that Stephanie would wear back in 2000. I don't know if that was on purpose, but I didn't take note. And it's a beat for beat storyline. You know, she turned on her father and to join Stax and like did a whole thing, right? She says she was tired of being in Santino's shadow and says he always chose the fans over her. She's officially aligned with Stax, who took a massive dig at Santino and says Ariana's his girl now. And he even says that sometimes she calls me daddy. So Yeah. I gotta say, not a fan of Stacks,
No,
but
hell no.
I do think I think the storyline is pretty good. I know it's a rip off of the McMahon thing with some variations, obviously. And then they had all the geeks behind him, and Charlie Dempsey is the only guy in that group that can wrestle, and he seemed like he could not be less interested in what's going on. Like his facial expressions, like he just like, I'm just here for a paycheck, man.
Right.
Like, yeah, he did not like when you watch it, just zone in on Charlie Dempsey standing behind, and he's like, this guy could not. He would much rather be anywhere else but here. So. Mustafa Ali, then he wrestles Hometown Man and beats him quickly after some interference from Order 4. And after the match, Ali went for a chair to do some damage. Then we heard the strum of a guitar, and somebody dressed up like Elijah walked across the stage. You didn't see his face, so the Great Hands went and chased him down, and then that distracted Ali. And then Elijah came into the ring and chased off Ali. And they booked a match for TNA Genesis. It's going to be Mustafa Ali versus Elijah in a 5-star classic, I'm sure. And what do you think of Elijah's run so far in TNA?
You know, at first I was like, dude, get this guy off TV. But he's starting to, just because he has a character. And I was just listening to when he was doing his concert the other day. I was like, he really has. I compared him to The Rock, which I don't mean he's The Rock, but like how The Rock has that ability. He cuts a promo and you can just tell everyone in the arena is listening.
Yeah.
Dude, I get a little bit of that from Elijah, man. Like he commands an audience.
He's got aura and presence.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I've seen him have some good matches, but he got hurt and he hardly ever wrestles here. So I'm just kind of waiting for him. Like I know that you're capable, so maybe this will be the match where we're like, okay, this guy can actually go, and that might just because Ali is really good and could carry him. But like this might be the match where we're like, okay, Elijah's ready to be not the top babyface, but a like upper tier babyface in the company. We'll see. He's been around for like a year, so we'll see. All right, X Division Scramble match. We had the Rascals. So they walked in to talk to Santino, and they wanted they all wanted a title shot at the X Division title, but Desmond Xavier couldn't be in it because he had already had a shot, I guess. So they walked in to see if one of them could get a shot, all the Rascals, and then he booked a match as Wentz versus Trey versus Myron Reed. It was a really quick match, but it was high octane. It was pretty fun. Myron Reed ended up stealing the show. He landed a springboard 450 splash on Wentz to get the victory. Wentz, who is teasing that he's leaving the company, which is probably true. But Reed now moves on to face Leon Slater for the big AMC show. So Leon Slater is going to be defending his title against Moose and Cedric Alexander. He's also defending the title 2 days. That's going to be Genesis. 2 days before that, he's defending the title against Myron Reed. But a week before that, this coming up week on Tuesday, he is challenging for the NXT Championship against Obafemi on NXT. Obafemi has already been called up to the main roster. There's rumor out there that Leon Slater is winning that title. Like some people think that he's actually going to win that title. And then the 3-way at Genesis would be a way to get the X Division title off of Leon, but he doesn't have to take a pin. You know, Cedric Alexander can just pin Moose, which would be easy. And then next thing you know, Leon is just an NXT wrestler now, right? Like they're not going to hold him to that contract. They're just going to let him go.
Huh.
Do you see that happening?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's probably likely, actually. Now that you say that.
I just see it, and everybody's like, well, Leon Slater's got more time on his deal. I was like, so did Joe Hendry, and so did Jordan Grace, and they left early. I think and you know what? And TNA is doing the right thing by their talent by letting them go. You know, like I maybe I'm the only one that sees it that way, but their income potential is going to be so much greater in WWE than it is in TNA. That if you bring these people in, you're paying them low money, and they get an opportunity to go to the WWE, you probably want to help facilitate that, not stand in their way, right? And so, and I think that's going to attract more talent to their company when they do things like that. So I think they're actually doing right by the wrestler by allowing that to happen. It kind of sucks for their TV show, and maybe the fans don't want that to happen. But if you're a fan of Leon, you want him to make as much money as he possibly can, right? And so where's he going to get that? Is the WWE. So TNA is not going to stand in his way from going. All right, so we got some mind games. So the Righteous came out and they held a sermon in the ring claiming they don't want violence. They want to elevate the Hardy Boys. This went on a little too long, I thought, but it was still pretty good. Matt and Jeff came out. They aren't buying it. They offered a title shot. So you don't have to win matches in this company to get a title shot. You just have to be creepy. And then you can get a title shot. So they offered a title shot, and Vince and Dutch declined. And then they said the warning that if the Hardys refuse their guidance, the cycle will demand something much darker. And then later in the evening, the Hardys found a shrine in their locker room filled with family photos. And they did like the creepy, like cinematic music to that scene. So I think we're starting to see what the show is going to look like on AMC. I could see them doing more cinematic type stuff with characters like the Righteous. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that that's something that they could do that's going to be different than what WWE and AEW is doing. Yeah. So I dug that. All right. Okay. And then knockouts action. We had Tessa Blanchard, Victoria Crawford, and Mila Moore. They beat Indy, Jody Thread, and Jada Stone. Your boy Robert Stone got involved, but there you go. And Systems final dance. So Johnny Dingo Curtis is heading towards retirement at Genesis, but first he's got a massive 8-man tag next week. The System versus the Hardys, Leon and Cedric Alexander. So they did a whole thing in the ring, and that's where I said Eddie Edwards is looking svelte. A little husky of that brother. He needs to join me in doing a keto diet. Okay, and then we get to the main event, and it's Bear Bronson versus Frankie Kazarian, and I thought it was awesome. It kind of dragged in the beginning of it, but Frankie is such a good pro wrestler, and Bear Bronson has got some fire for like a young babyface, and he's a big guy. I thought the match worked really great. The crowd was behind Bear. They actually thought at one point that he was going to win the match. Near falls, they bid on him. I think Bear could be a guy for this company. I don't think he's going to be like a money drawing dude. Like I don't see him like that, but I think there's like a really good fucking pro wrestler. I think Bear Bronson is a good find for TNA, and I think they need to get more guys like him. But it was a really good match. Frankie won.
Is he signed or is that known?
He has it on his Twitter account that he is a TNA wrestler.
Okay.
I don't know that he's signed though. They have not made any announcement as such.
Okay.
So
I guess
he
my
could
point
be
was,
just another
did
freelancer.
they bring him in for one match and then I guess that's what I was more.
I think he's sticking around for a while.
Okay.
He's sticking around. Afterwards is when Santana came out and said, "Hey, our match has been moved from Genesis to AMC." So that's what they're doing. All right, we're gonna close this up. Let's see. So, hold on. Let me see. King says, "No, I'm genuinely asking. What do you think they'll get more money because of the viewership, ad rates, and sponsors?" Yes, that's yeah. Yeah, I don't see what the confusion's about. I think if they do well, they'll more money gets kicked in. Like it'll activate something similar to when AEW debuted on TNT. That was a revenue share deal, and they had a production split, and they performed well. And a few months later, they got signed like a real deal. I think AMC is taking a real chance on TNA because it's not the type of programming they normally do. And I think that they're going to see how interactive wrestling fans are and just how many fans will actually come watch the show versus what they do in the normal time slot, which is just like old movies. I think that it's going to be something new and unique for them to do on their network. And I think it's going to work unless the show tanks and it's really, really bad, which that could also, but I'm looking at it like through a positive lens. So let's see. Do you think Tommy Dreamer would bring in Succubus? I don't know what that is. Okay.
No. She's good. She's a indie talent.
Oh,
she has a huge social media following from just knowing how to work social media and very unique and like good moveset.
Hold on.
A little green, but yeah.
What does she have a Twitter account?
She might. I follow her Facebook, but she's pretty good at like social media content.
Hold on, let me see. Succubus wrestler. Okay. Let me see if this person. I've never heard of this person. Okay, Succubus. Let's see.
It's a terrible name, but
it is a horrible name. I couldn't imagine. Oh, I'm gonna pull this lady up. Let's see. Let's share a screen. Let's see what this lady's all about. Okay. So here she is. She got the XO on the knockers there. Okay. Oh, okay. I can't do that. Never mind. Oh, stop sharing.
Ooh.
Yeah, sorry. I almost did the. I didn't realize what I was getting into.
That's not usually her. She
Okay.
doesn't use sexuality. That's usually how she is.
Yeah.
One of her platforms has a lot. It might be Instagram has like a lot of followers. Like if for
Okay.
someone who's just like new, she just knows social media. She knows how to market herself really well.
Yeah. Well, I almost showed her fallopian tubes on YouTube, so I don't want to do that. So yes. But yeah, I guess so. You mentioned them selling the PPV rights. Where do you think they'd sell those rights off to? Like Peacock or something like that. Maybe even AMC Plus, right? AMC Plus, they're looking to beef that up. So BQ might have a cool idea for this one. I don't know. I don't know what that was. Okay. Yeah, George says Peacock. Okay. Guys, it's getting late. I gotta roll. Mike's gonna get insane. I know I'm gonna get in trouble for that one. 6-year-old man searches social media on live stream. Yeah. Okay, guys. All right. Guys, follow us on Twitter. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to both BQ's channel and my channel. Thank you so much for all the support. I greatly appreciate it. And until next time, mahalo.